Right, good morning. You're very welcome back. Now, the question is, for a lot of parents out there, when is the right time to give your child a mobile phone? It's the age-old debate, but parents seem to be battling with it every year.
We want to hear from you. 0896 111 111. Here to discuss in studio is host of the Conversation with Parents podcast at the Irish Times, Jen Hogan, principal of St Aidans Community School, Kevin Shorthall, and tech journalist Elaine Burke. Thank you all so much for being here. I think an awful lot of the times we look at this, we look at disruption in phones. We're talking to teachers who are like, there's a 5-second, attention rate at this stage. Kevin, what do you think the effect has been of mobile phones in schools and on teaching and learning?
Yes, I think you're spot on. It's the distraction, because I suppose the biggest thing we deal with in schools in relation to phones is what's happened the night before or at the weekend or over the summer break or something like that. So if there's a whole load of trouble, there was a WhatsApp group set up or a group set up on TikTok, and then somebody was thrown out of it, and then things were said about that student. So that can be a real nightmare for schools. So, taking phones out of schools isn't going to get that away. But I suppose the thing about it is, even if your phone is off, if it's in your pocket and you're concentrating on something and next minute it vibrates, your attention is immediately taken. We're all the same here. Mm-hmm. If I had my phone out in front of you and we were speaking and it vibrated, I'd probably forget what you asked me and come back to you. So our attention span is really affected by the phone. And I suppose that's why schools and that's why the department are looking at how to make schools phone free. That's the issue.
Jane, as a mother of a number of children, do you have an ideal age that you think is the right time to give your kids? Or looking back on it, wished to give your kids?
I mean, I don't know that I have an ideal age, but I have kind of a similar age that they all got it, which was basically as they're heading into secondary, the end of primary, heading into secondary, which was around the time most of their friends got it. I suppose with my older children, maybe I managed to hold off a little bit more, just because back then it wasn't, you weren't battling.
What age, 12?
That turned out, so about 12, 13, kind of heading into secondary, that kind of age.
Why did you give them a phone?
Well, one of the reasons was, I suppose, contact, for to be able to, they were making their own way to school, if I needed to pick them up, maybe had.
Can I ask about this?
Yeah.
I hear about this all the time, and we all went to school, right? We all went to school, crime rates are, and I hear about it all the time, and I hear about it from friends of mine who are like, I want my child to be able to contact me.
Yeah.
Our parents just rang the secretary or rang the they rang the school.
I don't even mean necessary. I mean, school is one of the things.
I'm not giving it. I genuinely am just wondering, why is this constant contact between parents and children?
Yeah.
I certainly didn't want that when I was growing up, but now it's something that everyone craves.
Yeah, and I'm not even necessarily in favour. I know lots of parents track their children, so that's not something I'd be in favour of. I know that's a reason that a lot of parents have phones. I worry about where that kind of goes long term. So it's not that. I suppose maybe they're responsible for a younger sibling. Sometimes it might be so they could give me a call if they were out with a younger sibling. It was a problem. But that actually wasn't the huge driver. It was part of it. It was because, here we go, back to everybody else had one. This is how teenagers communicate. They're not picking up the phone and ringing. I mean, whether they have a phone or whether they have a tablet or whether they use their games console or a smart television, if they're communicating with their mates, it's over WhatsApp or Snapchat or over these social media platforms. So having the phone was one thing, but I held off allowing them to have social media accounts a little bit longer. That possibly changed as I went down the children. Did I lower my standards, or was it just that it became everybody was doing it at a younger age? I'm not 100% sure, but I've held fast with the secondary school or the end of 6th class secondary school bit. Don't know if it's the ideal age, but it seems to be the most popular age.
Elaine, is there, whenever you're hearing about contacting kids, you can give them, don't have to be smartphones with these social media apps on them. Are there good alternatives out there for parents?
There's all kinds of alternatives, and there are a lot of households turning to dumb phones. And the thing about dumb phones as well, it also eliminates having the camera on the phone, and that can be the root of a lot of problems where, kids are knowingly filming fights in the playground and sharing that around, and maybe taking pictures of things because they made an instantaneous decision in that moment to take a picture that they probably regret afterwards, but it's instantly shared online. So there are advantages to maybe downgrading the technology and giving them access to certain things. There's lots of options out there. But what I would say is, before you start looking for tech solutions for this problem, you have to think of a couple of things. One, are you prepared for your kid to have a phone? because we're all talking about like what age should the kid be to have a phone, but are you prepared to hand them a device that's going to raise some questions? Like if they come across certain kinds of content, are you prepared to have that conversation with them? Are you prepared to have a conversation with them about cybersecurity? Because that's a world that they're entering into then. They're going to be contacted probably by scam callers, robocalls, all the things that we encounter now that we have a phone. Are you prepared to have conversations with them? Are you up enough in your knowledge of how to avoid scams and all that kind of thing to educate them on that? So I think that's a big question that's not often part of this conversation. And then the other thing about the tech solutions and stuff like that is there's no app subscription or parental control features that will beat you being in dialogue with your children about their technological use, and also being a good role model in that respect as well. You're saying yourself, Tommy, like we are ourselves always on our phones, and then you hear parents who are frustrated with their children being always on their phones. And it's like, what kind of behaviour are you modelling there? Do you maybe have a space and time in your household where when you're all sitting down for dinner, maybe all the phones are put away so that you can all kind of chat about things? And these are the things that have been proven like time and time again as the best bulwarks that you can have, because you'll never really be able to keep up with what kids can do to access things that you've said you'd rather they don't access. But what you can do is make sure that if they do come across something that troubles them, that they are willing to come to you to talk about it, because you don't want them to be in a position where they think they'll get into trouble if they tell you about something that was bad that they came across.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so many good points there in relation to images that are being shared, Jen.
One of the things that Elaine said there, even handing your children a phone, I hear from parents so much, like a lot of the time, so much of the time, I just don't understand the platforms. I don't get them. You cannot wash your hands of it. Go, here you go, here's a phone. I don't do social media, but look, I'm putting the parental controls on and that's it. Because we are completely underestimating our kids in terms of what they can get around. And also, I think when we talk about ruling out phones, and I wish we lived in a time where the teenagers didn't have phones. Don't get me wrong, I am not advocating phones at all. I wish this wasn't an issue. But there is a consequence. There is an absolute consequence for you deciding not to go down that road if all of their friends have a phone. So I do think that's what's very difficult for parents. You are isolating them from their friends if they cannot make contact with their friends.
Do you see that, Kevin, as a principal?
Absolutely. Young people are young people, and they all want the same things as everybody else has. And it happens in schools all the time. You can get slagged if you don't have a phone. And even, as we heard, if you've got a different phone or a no-good phone, that can be a thing.
But you're a bit of slagging. Is that not what all kids get? Maybe.
You see, some people can take a bit of slagging and some people can't.
Yeah. And
it's like anything. One size fits all isn't going to... It's like somebody said to me yesterday, I was talking to them about this yesterday afternoon, and a young person in the school said to me, I'm sure schools will find a way to take the fun out of everything. Do you know, it's like what we shouldn't do is create a system where we know everything and you know nothing, because by and large they know as much as us. They're just in at a different time in their lives than we are. So keeping those lines of communication open, and as much as you can trying to be with people as they negotiate these things, rather than an outright ban or we know this and you don't know that. That won't work at all.
There was a memorandum sent around a few years ago in the Department of Education to all the schools going, for primary schools, kind of going, please, can you not let your kids have schools? But that is up to the phone, sorry, not schools, not important. So, you need parents to buy into this as well. There's peer pressure amongst parents as well. So for you, as you said, you can't control what's happening outside of school. The one thing that you can control, and we've seen all the studies are now, like Sweden have reintroduced pens and paper. They're taking away digital technology because they saw that their basic language skills amongst children was decreasing because of the digital technologies they were increasing. So that's one aspect of it. During the day, do you take phones off children in school? Like, do you have a box that you're like, or sure, listen to phone pouches or whatever? Like, do you have that? Or are they allowed to bring their phones around with them?
Interesting that you should say it. So there was a directive from the department before the summer that it's an express wish from the department that schools would now be phone free, and they're providing finance for us to do that. So over the next couple of weeks, you might remember Aidan from Tala Community School last year, they introduced the under pouches. You had them on. So we're introducing that over the next few weeks. Now, I'm uneasy about the whole thing about ban, but what we're going to try and do is make schools phone free during the day. And I think, to be honest with you, we've enough screens in the world. And I would say in our school it's going to be experimental. to see how it works, to see if we lift our faces up from the screen. Now, we
Is
don't
this
really
teachers, is this everyone?
Oh yeah, I know. I won't have a situation in the school where the teacher's on their phone and the student isn't.
Okay.
It's for all of us. But what I think is really important is that we just have time not to look at the screen rather than see the screen as a bad thing or anything like that. It certainly is a distraction. We'll see how it goes.
Can teachers teach without phones? Because I believe nowadays that tech is needed.
Correct. And you see, a lot of schools have an iPad or have a device. We don't. So I'm hoping that the department come in. Certain communities, you pay €1,000 at the start of the year and you get your iPad. Our school doesn't do that. So what will replace that? We had a situation there last year and we've a lot of students in our school that don't speak English or that arrive at no English. And a student spoke into the phone and put the phone up to me and the phone said, "I'm struggling today with my feelings." Now, if we don't have a phone, how do we do that? Especially in the early days when someone has absolutely no English. There's huge benefits to phones. There's huge benefits to technology. Let's not say throw all that out in favour of something worse, but we just need to manage that and find a way to work with them.
0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you. Elaine, finally, we were talking beforehand about Australia, a lot of news about them trying to ban the internet for under 16s and what's going on there. It's hitting some roadworks. If there's parents who are watching right now and they're looking at you, who knows, when Elaine comes in here, I'm like, what's going on? Is there a golden bullet to be like, I can see everything my kid is doing, or I can teach them this, or is there a great app or apps they should be staying away from?
It's a little bit like cybersecurity in that you'll never have 100% protection. That's the reality of the situation. And if you're relying on, say, like a kid version or a teen version of a platform, you are also relying on that platform's content filtering and content moderation. And we all know where they fail many times in that respect. So just bear those things in mind when you're being presented with so-called solutions for parents. And one thing that I would absolutely highly recommend is webwise.ie, a fantastic resource that actually helps you keep up to date with what's possible on these platforms, because they change a lot as well. Spotify is talking about introducing direct messaging. Spotify might be something that in your parental controls you allow your child to access at night in their bedroom. Maybe they like to listen to music before they go to sleep. But if they introduce messaging, and I think their only reason to do that would be to hook in a teenage market, and you don't know about it, well then, you're allowing things that maybe you didn't want to allow.
Yeah.
Okay, webwise. Quickly though, on that Australia thing, are they hitting hurdles?
So it's not going. I wouldn't even phrase it as a social media ban for under 16s anymore, based on the guidance that has emerged. The guidance is more about making it prohibitive for under 16s to create accounts on certain social networks. That is a more accurate description of what's happening.
Okay, there you have it. Let us know again, 0896 111 111. I can imagine the interest in this, but actually it was really fascinating from everybody. Thank you so much. Elaine Burke, tech journalist, Kevin Shorthall, principal at St Aidans Community School in Tala, and Jen Hogan, host of Conversations with Parents podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.